Time to check my email. Oh, I have an email from my client. How does she like the painting? Wait, what? Why is she... Of course I'm going to post it on the internet. It adds value to it. What? Okay. I'm going to call her. Good. Alright. Surely this must be a misunderstanding. Okay. Photography. I don't know this guy. Cease and desist. What? What? I'm being sued? Oh hell no. No. It's not my motherfucking money. No. Hey guys, welcome back to the studio. Today's gonna be kind of a boring topic compared to all those who are looking how to improve their art. Now, it's not that I'm not working on pieces and I'm not compiling artistic tutorials, but seeing as how this came up 3 times last week on Facebook and a couple of times on Instagram and Reddit, I really want to cover this before it's not in my immediate sites. And the constant posting and the constant kind of reminder that this is an issue not only caused me to want to make a video for you guys regarding contracts, but it also kind of made me review my own contract and realize that I had to update it because it was written in 2008, and since 2008 my business model has slightly changed, and I did not really put underneath the umbrella of my contract a lot of the different aspects that are now part of what I do with my business. So for those who are very, very intimidated by business paperwork and legal proceedings, understand first that a contract is basically a drafted piece of paperwork that is a written, legally binding agreement between you and another party regarding a certain set of expectations and payments, with effectively legally binding if one party does not follow through on their end, okay? A contract is not just there to scare your clients or to scare you. It can be very, very intimidating when you're talking about writing up a contract. Now, I'm going to tell you straight out, I am not a lawyer. If you draft your own contracts for commissions or artistic sales, or whatever you feel you need to have on a contract to better support you after or during commissions or during sales, by all means, draft that, and then I would recommend having it looked over by an actual attorney to make sure you're within all the provisions for your state, province, or country. I'm not used to having to say that, but yeah, definitely if you're gonna be drafting legal paperwork that is going to be held liable for both you and your client or your gallery, then do have it reviewed and consult a lawyer before actually deciding on that for your final format. Okay. This is some of the issues that have happened in the last week that has caused me to go back and review mine. I've heard at least 3 complaints with artists not getting payment after getting done with the work because of troublesome clients. Now, this could be anything from they never got their down payment, they didn't do a split payment or a payment plan, and they did not think to get any kind of guarantee before the client up and split down, and now they have this completed piece of work and no client that's going to buy it, so they're out all of that material in all those hours. Another one is scams. But I think scams, while I can put them in your contract and they can effectively protect you on a scam, it's really hard to go after some scammers. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make scams a whole other video. But effectively, if you are talking to someone who's trying to scam you and you say, okay, well, if you want to move forward with this, then I'm going to have you go over my legal paperwork and have you sign a contract, it'll scare a lot of scammers out of town. They'll just be like, deuces, not playing this game, because they know that you can legally go after them in the court of law. Okay. Another one is copyright and artistic control. This one came up 3 times again last week with artists who were threatened with cease and desist letters and artists that were threatened to be sued by photographers because they were using pictures that they did not know were not copyright released by a professional photographer. Believe it or not, some clients don't know that if they don't do the pictures, they don't have rights for that, and they will just do whatever they want with whomever pictures they have to get whatever they need, and damn the consequences. But the problem is then that comes down on you and it makes you look like an amateur. So this is kind of taking it up a couple notches when you're talking about doing your work from enjoying it to doing it professionally and doing it as a business. This is when you're going to step it up a notch, and then you want to start wearing like crazy stuff like business suits. I wouldn't know anything about a business suit. I have 3 of them. Now, if you're looking for maybe a more thorough list of things that you want to cover in your contracts, because I'm going to be using my own contract that I will use with my commission clients, there is a book called Art Marketing 101. This is a later edition. I think this is the 2nd edition. But there is a section when it comes to business, and there is a work for hire contract and a checklist for contracts. Now, you can have a contract not just with a commission client, but you can have a contract with your gallery or somebody who's representing you. I was actually supposed to say representing you, not representing you. Apparently I've developed a stutter. But while this is really pretty serious, I'm going to try and make it as fun as possible. But some of the things that you want to make sure you have on there would definitely be a duration of how long the work is going to take. This one I saw on Reddit last night, and again, as much as I'd like to get out of this boring conversation, apparently a artist was commissioned with a $100 down payment to do a piece of work, and in one case, it was a few days later before the client decided that they needed their work and they needed it now. And in another case, it was 6 to 8 months later on a $250 commission, and the artist had no work done. So in this case, it becomes a business and not a hobby. When you're talking about being backlogged on work, you really need to disclose that and really figure out how much time it's going to take you to get the work done, and give them a relatively reasonable timetable, or you're just going to seem like somebody that is going to get a bad reputation for being unreliable and not being able to get that done. No time control, no time management. So if you're backlogged with Christmas commissions and you take one on November 21st and you know that what you have currently sitting in your stack of work is going to take you well past Christmas, I would honestly say do not recommend somebody who, taking on another person I should say, don't recommend taking on another commission that needs to get done before Christmas and there's no way physically you could possibly get it done. These are your paying clients and you want to start with a really good, clean reputation. So we'll get into time management for another one, but time management should be on your contract. Usually I write it in off on the side because depending on the workload that I currently have and other specifics, I have a whole other page for specifics on my contracts. But these are some of the tips that they recommend going over for your contracts. Okay, this is the Art Marketing 101. They recommend you go over framing, who pays for the framing, and the actual workload of being done. Photographs, who pays, what are the requirements for the photographs, and who has ownership of the negative transparencies, and who has control of those. Who has artistic control to publish them. Who's effectively got the the copyright on them? Are they allowed to be included in a gallery? Are you allowed to use them in like a retrospective? Is that piece, once it goes out, allowed to go into a gallery exposition? Now, if you're doing something like memorials, where it would be really, really awkward and kind of weird if you're not doing a high-profile client, that you would suddenly be called upon by a gallery to contact the client, and then suddenly there's this need for you to want to show it in a gallery. So some of the bullet points that we're going to go over that they recommend is stuff like framing, photography, artist control, gallery exhibition, reproduction rights, protection in the market, damage and deterioration, selling and prices, billing, payment plans, other incomes and sales, advances and guarantees, and just miscellaneous stuff. Now, some of the points that are on this list I put in my original contract thinking I was going to need them, but they're so far ahead of where I'm at as an artist that they seemed like I never really need to worry about them. I probably won't, because I can't do my art full-time. I can't do my channel full-time. I have a 9-to-5 job, for lack of better terms. And so I probably would not wind up in the niche where I would have to worry about a client who I sold, even if I sold an original piece to, not a commission, about them reselling it for an exuberant amount more than I charge them for the work. But we do want to get into this, and I am going to use my own contract that I have right now on file for my references to kind of touch base on this. And I do apologize, this isn't funnier than it is, but on the same note, I have a feeling that a lot of artists are going to find that they're really interested in it because it does take your work to that next level. It does show that you're taking your artwork seriously and you want to grow as an artist and you want to do this as a business. And honestly, artists need to learn to protect themselves, because your client, as well-meaning as they are, might not be the person that's looking out for your best interest. Oh, and this also protects against choosing beggars and entitled people. So if you've heard court cases about artists getting sued, I actually heard about one where an artist got sued because the client wanted a painting done, and then when they got it, it wasn't what they wanted, so they refused to pay the client. The artist sued them, and the artist won in court. So this is all the stuff that comes on the tail end afterwards, and it can be the rather ugly part that makes everybody nervous, keeps people up at night, and honestly would make you want to quit doing it. So this is a really, really important video if you want to stick around. If not, it's going to be an awful long time in just talking legal stuff. I am going to say once again, I am not a lawyer. This is a contract that I've drafted with the guidelines under the Art Marketing 101 guide, and I've had it reviewed by an attorney. I have recently updated it and will probably send it out again for review from an attorney. But again, once you're done drafting your own personal contract for whatever you feel you need to cover in provisions, then definitely have an attorney look it over so that they can make sure that all of your best interests are covered. Okay, so up on the screen here, I've got effectively my current version of my commission agreement. Of course, you need all your parties' information. Okay, so you want the current date that you're signing and taking on this commission, the client's name, and the reason you have two addresses labeled is because sometimes you can have a piece that's getting shipped to an address other than their primary residence. Okay, I've had clients that actually wanted it shipped to a framer. I've had clients that wanted it shipped to a house other than the one that they live at because it's a present for somebody else. So that is why you want two addresses, or the ability to list two addresses. It might not be going to where that person lives. Definitely get contact information. I can't stress this enough. Get contact information. Now, I could actually even update this to say that while I have a phone number listed, I can do a cell phone number. I can also do email, and I never really put the email into the contract. So I usually put the email below. So let's go back up here and we'll just add email address. It's being a booger. Okay. So definitely multiple different phone numbers, maybe a backup number, an emergency contact, because this is a legally binding piece of paper now. So don't think that you can just skip it. If you don't provide it and it's not in the provisions, it can't be held up in the court of law. Okay? So if you think you're gonna need it, get it. Okay? I hate to be this way, but protect yourself, and while you're writing up the contract, think of everything that you're going to need to protect yourself and be able to get back whatever investment you're putting in on your work. Okay? So a phone number, multiple phone numbers, multiple contacts, and an email address. I've really never had too much of a problem once I pull the contract out with scammers up and ditching, because now they're on a legally binding piece of paper. But hey, you know what? I have had clients that they have very busy lives, and it can be really hard to move forward with a piece when you can't get a hold of them. So make sure you have many different ways of getting a hold of them. Email, snail mail, phone numbers. Gotta have them. Okay? So this next section covers the specifics of the subject that you're going over. With me, I do pet and wildlife art, so this can get down to multiplying 5 and 6 times. I've had a piece that had 10 animals in it, so you want to make sure you're sectioning off each one of the subjects so that you're aware when you're talking to the client who you're talking about and what position, what specifics we're talking about with each animal. Name of the subject, the breed, sex, color, eye color, background, anything else, anything specific. With the 10 pet piece, I needed to know which 2 animals got along and maybe were bonded to each other, so I knew which ones to put together. Or maybe they want them put in seniority, so it might be something like, I need Boomer put next to Copper, and then I need Copper next to Thunder, because it's chronological. Okay, but that's totally up between you as an artist and your client. Now when it comes to color, there's a really big reason why I put color in there. Okay? With Brooklyn, when I took Brooklyn to the vet, I trusted the fact that I thought my vet was competent in knowing her color. Brooklyn is a tabby and white. My vet, on her license, her rabies license, which is really important because if she were to ever get out, if she were ever to bite somebody and I need her rabies certificate to be 100% accurate so that the cops and the authorities know what cat they're dealing with. Yeah, there's a huge problem the minute I got her rabies certificate, because it says she's a solid in white and she's not. She's a tabby in white. And when you're talking a solid in white, think like a tuxedo cat, because that is a solid in white. She is a tabby in white. And so if she were to ever bite somebody, I would be really, really seriously concerned that her rabies certificate would be null and void because the description on the certificate doesn't match the actual animal. Okay. The other reason is maybe you've got bad lighting and you need another reference picture of a same colored animal to get a more true color reference. And so if it's a purebred animal, you want to make sure that you know what the registered color is. Okay? And this is when, as a pet and wildlife artist, you are doing your homework and you know the color mixes to make certain breed colors. You know, is it chestnut? Is it a red chestnut? Is it a brassy chestnut? It's a brown horse. Like, some people will just say, it's a brown horse, I don't care what color my horse is. You need to know what color that animal is so that you can properly paint it. Okay? When I talk about eye color, that is in there for the very specifics of cats. Okay, it's one thing to have a shark-eyed horse or a blue-eyed dog, but cats have over 40 different varieties that they can have in their eyes. And when you're talking like a portrait, you really want to nail those eyes. So Brooklyn has a blue rim around her pupil and a yellow eye, which is really striking. It's really pretty, but if her eye color were registered as green, I'd be painting a totally different cat, and your clients are gonna know. So the specifics of what you're painting is really, really, really important, okay? All right, so this goes over this points of commission piece. This is the specifics that, again, legally binding. This is to protect you and your client, okay? So if with me, I work in multiple different media, so I have all of my medias listed. So if I get to court and, you know, a judge is like, well, I have no idea what any of this means, don't expect that the court system is going to understand the difference between a pastel painting and a colored pencil painting. I mean, it could be just common sense to a lot of people, but please do not assume that your client knows the difference, okay? Because that can be the difference of like $200 or $300 on a commission. All right, so you want whatever media you're working on listed. You want, like with my case, how many subjects are you doing? A headshot and a bust, or are you doing a full body picture? The number of photographs available for reference. And we'll get into those photographs because this has been a huge point of contention on the internet for weeks. So the number of photographs available for references, number of photographs taken by the artist for reference. Are you doing the reference photography? And then we want to asterisk with number of photographs which are property of the client need to be returned. I've had clients that only have physical copies of pictures and don't have digital cameras, and so you have to work off prints. So you want to make sure that those you're effectively inventorying, you're numbering, and you're using them like evidence in a court case. You're not going to touch them. You're responsible for getting those back to the clients, and that they are in safekeeping and they all go back to the client. Okay? They're not yours to keep. And then I left myself a specifics and description of said pictures so that I don't get my pictures confused with their pictures. Okay? With hard copies, it's far less common for me to get them confused because mostly I get digital images now. But again, if you still get old hard copies, you want to make sure that you're not losing them. But maybe they like this headshot, but they like this body shot. So give yourself some room if you're working off reference pictures provided by your clients. And that you make sure you distinguish between your pictures and your client's pictures. Okay, the next section is your photo release, and this is a big doozy that has been brought up so many times. I did feel the need to not only bring this up, but revise my own, because all I have is a release saying that my pictures were my pictures. So this is the new one. Okay, so the first paragraph is the client hereby attests that any and all reference material provided to the artist has been willingly licensed to the artist for derivative work, and any third-party agency or photographer has been properly notified and has waived any and all copyright or licensing royalty fees in relation to the use of this material. Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty on this, okay? First off, I've had 2 artists in the last 6 months that have asked what to do when they get a picture and they suspect a photographer took it. The quality is just too good, okay? My first thought is, why would you want a painting of a picture a photographer took? Because honestly, just hang up the photograph. But some people are weird. Now there is like a case with some people who are advanced in years, can't necessarily shoot with their phone or with their camera, and so they can't get the proper lighting and they don't have the skill to get those shots. But you as an artist need to know where those pictures came from, okay? You need them to verify that yes, they took the pictures, or if they were professionally taken by another photographer, that they have contacted the photographer and the photographer knows you are using them as reference material to make a third-party derivative, okay? So anything that you make off a picture is considered a derivative work, okay? So technically, making and billing somebody and making money off of their reference pictures is technically part of the copyright that protects them as the copyright and intellectual property owners, so that they are the only ones with that image. It's very rare, it used to be very rare, that you ever heard a photographer complaining about an artist rendering their own picture or rendering their picture. But like I said, it's come up twice in the last month where I've heard of clients snakily telling a customer or an artist that this is the picture I want done and this is the reference picture, so just use it. Have them sign off saying that they know that they took the picture and that you know that you have legal right to use it for a derivative work and use it for your own artwork for this commissioned piece. Because otherwise, in case of one artist, that artist, got an email one day saying that basically it was a cease and desist and they were owed royalties, and the artist was like, what? Okay. If your client comes forward and only has professional images, have the client get a hold of the photographer. Okay? You could too, okay? But if there's anything like royalties or licensing fees to make a derivative work off of, that's on your client to pay that. You should bill that out. Do not take upon yourself having to pay for licensing and royalties on somebody else's work for a commission that you're getting paid for. Make that part of your billing, okay? Photographs provided by the client are hereby released by the client, regards to copyright, used for artwork listed herein, and may be displayed for reference pictures in relation to the commissioned work. The artist is making no claim to copyright of these images, only of the artwork created from provided reference pictures. Okay, that sounds confusing. It's not. Basically what it means is that if client A gives you 6 pictures, okay, out of the 6 pictures you use 1 for the primary reference for this subject. Above and beyond using it for the artistic work, afterwards you have right to display the piece next to the reference images. But this province only covers the picture itself, okay? Because there was a artist that effectively got threatened with copyright infringement for posting the original artwork and then posting the reference picture as a way of promoting themselves. The client had a problem with it. I don't know why. I don't know what the circumstances are. But the client had a problem with it and demanded that they take it down. Since they took the picture and they did not sign a contract, the artist has to comply because there wasn't a waiver on the copyright. Okay, so this allows you to post the reference pictures that you did not take next to the artwork. Okay, well, at least it covers the photograph aspect of this. Third part of this is for pictures that I may take. Okay, so all photographs taken by the artist for reference hereby become legal property of Morning Hawk Creations and Alicia McNally. All rights for reproduction of images are held by the artist. I hold a copyright on any images that I take. This is just the photograph release, okay? So don't look at it past that. This is not part of the photography release. This actually has to do with people saying that's not what I wanted, okay? Because there are so many different temperatures of internal light, and that's not including external light or just really bad lighting in general, like backlighting, okay? Those can all vary the temperature of the photograph, and we've gone into lighting on other tutorials, so this covers your butt on the lighting thing. It has been explained to me that because of lighting, flash, developing, quality of film, and or environment, the artist may adjust the color of the subjects to the final piece to create cohesion between subjects in the background. If you have a tawny-esque color background, something very neutral, and you have a brindle dog, but the picture that you have really is got some very warm, not pleasing, almost like the lighting in this photograph, or well, in this video. If the lighting is a little too warm and it doesn't work, you might wind up tweaking the color degree just a little bit so that the whole piece works together. Another example is like horses and cats and dogs living together, chaos everywhere. Horses are primarily filmed outside. Clearly, nobody's going to bring a horse into their apartment to adjust the lighting. But cats are primarily shot inside, which is a different temperature of lighting, typically. And dogs can be shot in either one. This can lead to, when you put those 3 animals together on the same piece, effectively a lot of chaos when it comes to lighting, and it's going to be very unpleasant to view if you directly copied the photograph. So this gives you the right to have some amount of artistic license when it comes to adjusting images adjusting subjects so there's cohesion between the pieces. It's a good purpose. Framing, framing, framing. Now, first thing you need to make sure you let your clients know is that the minute that they want something framed and matted, that it's going to increase the cost of shipping. Okay, I've had pieces shipped across the country, and it can be astoundingly expensive to have pieces shipped across the country when they're framed and matted, especially under glass. Under glass means that a lot of shippers will actually request that you remove the glass from the original piece and ship the glass as a separate piece, especially if you are insuring the piece. Okay, so understand that as well. If the glass breaks in shipping, because once it leaves your hand, man, it can be jumbo dropped off an airplane, and you're not going to have any control over it once it leaves your hands, okay? And I've heard horror stories of people receiving custom artwork, original artwork, one-of-a-kind artwork, and it's shown up from different delivery companies on the stoop in the rain. The box has been damaged beyond all recognition and the artwork is ruined. The piece getting lost, it getting shipped to the wrong address, and then of course not ever getting to the client, but having a tracking number that realizes that, yeah, it went to the wrong spot. So shipping is a monster. Right now we're dealing with framing. In the event the the client would like to have the artist take care of framing and matting, this is the waiver to decide whether or not they want it and they don't want it. Okay, if they don't want it, they can't hit you up and say, well, I expected it to be framed and matted. This isn't a finished piece of work. You know what, with entitled people, I am not giving you 2 inches, not even. You are going to sign off right now whether or not you want me to frame and mat that. Because some people don't know how to deal with that. And they think if an artist does it, it's cheap. Or we get discounts. That's not the way that works, okay? But they don't understand that, so now we're going to discuss it. Okay? Some people are on the budget. Framing can get hugely, hugely, hugely expensive. Okay? I have had pieces that I've framed and matted for under $10. I've had pieces that have costed nearly $600 to frame and mat because everything was custom with museum glass. So do cover framing and matting in your contracts, especially with clients, okay? If anybody wanted to know, I will share it anyway. Because I've had clients all over the country, I will use Michaels as my default framer because there's locations throughout the whole country, and that has worked in my favor oftentimes really, really well. They generally are very good with their suppliers as far as making sure that they have the right frames in comparison to, they have them all over the country. It's the same color, it's the same mats, same material. So your client can be down in Georgia and pick out their frame and their mat based on maybe their interior design or their decor, and then turn around, send you the SKU numbers on that. You can go to your Michaels, find the same SKU, and then be able to include some of maybe their personal taste or their color, so that now it's getting really custom. We're not just doing any old portrait, you're kind of trying to include their own personal taste in the piece, which gives you a huge boost when you're talking about people who are on the upper end of your art and they're really looking for something that's special to that particular person, not just, I'm recreating a picture. Okay? So get the specs on what they need for framing and matting, okay? And then unless you are a professional framer or matter, I would send that out. Don't take care of it yourself, okay? And then make sure you include any costs that you incur, pass those on to the client. I don't necessarily think you should do an upcharge on that because you're not looking to make a profit off of it, but do not foot that bill yourself, or you can really be taken for a ride, okay? So, payment, 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 payment. Everybody's doing art and commission work to get paid. This covers your payment system, okay? So this is another really, really part of your contract. With me, I used to do photography for free. I now charge for sitting. It became such a problem with people sending me low resolution shots, or shots that were badly lit, or shots that were at an angle that I absolutely could not tell what was going on with these animals, that I now started saying I can or cannot use those. And you know what? You have the right to reject reference pictures. If you don't think you can make decent work or quality work off of it, don't accept it. You can turn away a client. You as an artist can fire a client, okay? If they're not working with you and they're holding you back. You can return their deposit and fire them if you want to. Okay, I've never had to do that. I've had some clients that have really pushed my boundaries on what it means to be a client and be in a business contract, even after I've sold the contract, and just listen, people, you need to keep working on this, or we're not going to get very far. And after threatening to dismiss them as clients and keep their deposit, you imagine they really shaped up and got digging in on this so we could get the piece of work done. Okay, so photography charges, I charge $75 for a sitting, which, considering what professional photographers charge, is really super cheap. The estimate amount, now this estimate amount is just going to be what you think you're going to need for like your hourly rate. If you were just charging for somebody for just the canvas, the paint, and your hourly time, that's what you're charging with right there. Estimate time in framing, or for framing and matting, again, totally separate. Do not eat that cost, okay? If you're looking at doing a lot of commission, this is going to be a really regular thing. Make sure you set aside money for taxes, for your local, state, and federal taxes. Because once you do that thing where you're filing taxes and you file this as a separate income, the state's going to come after you for sales tax. So don't, again, you're not expecting when you go to Walmart to pay $5 for something and that's going to include the tax. Most people understand the tax comes above and beyond that. So if you're charging $500 for a painting, you're actually going to wind up charging them like $505 to cover your state tax. That extra $5 is your state tax, which you would have to pay out of pocket at the end of the year when you file your taxes. All right, so then you take those numbers, you add them up. That is your estimate amount kind of thing, or your estimate. You divide that in half. Okay, with me I do a 50%. I do a 50% deposit to make sure that if my clients dip on me, back out at the last moment, I am not paying for that. And actually, I need to change this. We're going to update this. Okay. And somebody's going to go, what? What is going on here? Okay, so right here is where the language gets really important. 50% non-refundable deposit. If they know they're not going to get their money back one way or another, your clients are going to be on the ball with this, and they are not going to mess around with, I'm moving, I'm out of the state, I'm in Europe, and they're not going to blow off your phone calls. Making art is an investment in time for you, and material for them is maybe half a paycheck, okay? So it's really common for people to dismiss an artist and their needs and what they need to get done, okay? So please make sure that you put some part of that's non-refundable, that basically is your invested time. So my non-refundable covers basically materials, cost, and they have to approve the layout, okay? That's a whole separate thing. Okay, remainder of balance owed, shipping and handling when it applies. Again, shipping and handling, what you're talking about, framing and matting something and sending it over state lines, not delivering it yourself, that can get really expensive. I've had clients that have paid upwards of $80 with insurance for shipping and handling. Total remaining balance and whether or not how they're paying for stuff. So cash, check, credit card, PayPal, how they're paying for it. Make sure when you do this, you're getting some form of formal ID. Okay. Maybe it will be a driver's license, social security card, something like that. I've never really seen anybody use a social security card as a form of ID, but since we use it in hiring, I would imagine you could follow up with a driver's license or some kind of photo ID to make sure that the person who's commissioning you is actually who they say they are. And if they write a bad check, because come on, that happens, they can come after you with it. Okay, now this is not going to get into like PayPal guarantees or any of these other ways that they could dispute services online. So this is just your standard, I'm going to a trade show and this is how we're handling things. Okay, so your estimate amount, make sure you asterisk that. That is not going to include framing, shipping, handling, insurance paid for such if applicable, because if you're doing framing and matting and you're shipping it, your shipping company is going to want you to insure it. Okay? Framing and matting are not included, would be additional charges that may vary by material and availability. Again, I've had frames that are $10. I've had frames that are like $300-400. Insurance will be automatically put on all items shipped via UPS, USPS, FedEx, or third-party courier. How did my X go away? Okay. Shipping and handling will be directly affected when pieces are shipped framed and matted because of weight and dimensions. Yes, this is just kind of common sense, but you'd be amazed at how many people just expect it to be the same amount if you're just shipping a piece of paper. Do not take anything for granted when it comes to signing a contract, because while a judge may look at the client who's refusing to pay you for it and go, well, yeah, it's going to be more when you're shipping a whole framed heavy piece with glass, that it is to ship a piece of paper. If you don't state the obvious in your contract, you might not be getting that reimbursement. Okay. Other shipping and handling requests. In one case, I had a client that specifically wanted their original piece, not framed, not matted, shipped to a Michaels where they were having it framed and matted, and then they were picking it up from Michaels because it was an anniversary present. So anything that you need to know as far as shipping and handling, in that particular case, I was in real close contact with a store manager in another state that was in charge of the framing and matting, and their head framer and matter, because it was going over state lines, and I wanted to make sure that they got there fine, and if they had any problems, if it became damaged, that we were all covered before it got out to the client. Okay. This one is a good point. Artist blah. Does herein hold the copyright on the original artwork video pertaining to said commissioned artwork? Okay, so guess what? Keep the copyright for yourself, okay? They can own the copyright for the photographs that you're using as your derivative work, okay? Keep the original artwork copyright for yourself, okay? That's fair, okay? Mostly because then they can't turn around and say, well, you can't publish that online. I do work for the Midwest Horse Fair, so if I were to do a picture on SAA Snort and Blow, which I have. So I'm working on this portrait for SAA Snort and Blow. Let's say I want to take this and I want to make this into prints, okay? If I don't hold the copyright on it, I can't do the prints, which means I can't continue to make any more work on this, okay? This particular horse is a real high profile horse, and the owner might actually want to keep that, and there might be some dispute about it, but honestly, I want to keep the copyright on that particular piece for myself, because I want to be able to continue to make money on something I'm putting some work in. Alright, so the next point. Physical original artwork will not be exhibited in the public without prior written consent from the artist or representative of the artist. Okay, so that means basically that the client's not going to take your work and take it to a PETA exposition or take it to a gallery where maybe your best interests are not there. Maybe it's something that you have a real problem with. It's a corporation or a gallery, or it's a politician or something, okay? Once you're talking about your art leaving your hands, you have limited amount of control over what you can do, okay? If they donate it to a gallery, it's one thing, but really they should be notifying you if it's leaving their hands, you know, because you don't know how it's going to be used and how your name's going to get represented outside of your own personal space. So it's just a notation that if your artwork changes hands, that you want to know about it. If it's being put on public display, you know where it's being put on public display. You know, maybe you don't want your picture of deer in a hunting magazine. That's a good, you know, maybe you're very anti-hunting and you're doing a lot of wildlife, and you don't necessarily want your wildlife pictures put on a Remington calendar or a Winchester rifle calendar because it's pro-hunting and pro-gun. You know, don't assume that your client has your own personal best interests. Leaves it gone. So that kind of protects you on the other end. Next point is the artist has rights to keep photographic wrappers of the piece to use for publicity, retrospective, and reproduction purposes. Okay, that covers you on the other end. Piece is gone. You're trying to build up a portfolio. This is the reference picture. This is the original piece. You can put that online so that clients who want to look at your work, see the original, know what the difference is, the scope of your work. This gives you the right to not turn around and have somebody come at you with a cease and desist, or say you're infringing their copyrights or their personal property, or da-da-da-da-da-da. I've heard a dozen different reasons why clients would want to do this. I really don't understand it, but that's on them. I don't expect people to justify why they do stuff, but this gives you a right to use it for your own publicity, reproductions or retrospectives, okay? This is another one. Again, it goes back to a point about not storing artwork in the kitchen. Artist does not take personal responsibility done from improper storage and care to any piece created after it has been received by the client. I know a lot of artists that spend a lot of time and a lot of energy getting into archival materials. Okay, and there's something to be said for archival materials. I'm not knocking archival materials and the additional cost that comes with buying high-end archival materials. What I'm saying is that not everybody is smart enough to know how to keep your work after it leaves. So I've seen well over 20 pieces kept in a restaurant that did a lot of cooking and had an open concept kitchen, and there's these oil paintings hanging everywhere in the dining room, including the second floor. Really nice artwork. And all I can think of is it's cringe-worthy when you work in a kitchen like I do, and you see really expensive $500, $600, $700 paintings right next to a stovetop that's cooking sauces, and you know that sauce is getting spattered on that painting. Okay, you know that little kids are touching the painting. Okay, when it's not properly cared for, you can't control it, and people might say that you were using inferior materials. Well, no, there's a difference between not caring for it and not giving quality materials. Now, that's not to say that you have to get very expensive paper every single time, or the highest end paint. That's totally different from I got the painting in, and it was on this shitty paper, and I put it on my countertop and my cat came by. You must have a cat. It's all your fault because my cat peed all over the painting. No, boo. Don't let your pets at it. Okay? Just some things that are just common sense. If you accidentally set the painting on fire, I'm not responsible for your stupidity. Okay? So, and I've heard about a couple clients having issues with artists and taking issues with artists after they've received the work because they themselves did stupid mistakes. Now, in order to kind of cover my butt, usually when I sell an original piece or I get a commission, there's a packet that I send out with it that's care and cleaning. Can't really clean like a graphite or something that's on paper, but you can store it correctly so the least amount of damage happens, the color doesn't fade, and that the paper doesn't discolor. Okay, so there's that. Make sure your clients know what they're doing with their original artwork once it leaves your care. Alright. The next section is more for my own purposes because this now covers this channel. So it's documentary, memorial, release of information, images. This is the video release. This is separate from the photography release because the photography release was basically for the artwork. This is pertaining to the videos, okay? So when we're talking TJ and Sailor in that one, we're talking the Jasper video. All of that, and this gets into social media too, okay? When you're talking about works in progress and such. If you're doing a work in progress and it's supposed to be a secretive work, I have like 4 Facebook groups. I have my fan page for my original artwork. I have a photography and event page. I have a working commission page that's a secret page that I would have to actually link somebody through and invite them to in order for them to keep tabs on progress reports. And then I have a group that I associate with my Patreon page. But this one right here, the one that is like the secret, the WIP group, the work in progress page, That is so clients can be updated as I'm going through a piece. It's really, really nice to be able to show the clients work as it's going, and believe me, you will have people that will see these works in progress and then just freak on you. They will freak so bad, oh my god, it's like the end of the freaking world. So when you have a work in progress page, expect your clients to freak out as you're going through a piece. And when you're signing a client up on a contract, please make sure, if you're going to keep them up with like works in progress, how things are going, take their criticism with a grain of salt. They're not artists, that's why they hired you, okay? So when they say something like an underpainting and they're freaking out because it looks nothing of what like their animal looked like or the subject looks like, you're gonna need to keep telling them to calm the hell down, because they're looking at what you're sending them thinking that that's the finished piece. It's not the finished piece. And honestly, that's one of the reasons why I work the way I do on commission pieces and work around. You'll see that on the difference between like the Lion King painting and when I'm working on something like TJ and Sailor. Because as I'm updating the clients, they have a tendency of just getting a little bit freaked out because that's not what it looks like at all. Okay, we're gonna work on this in two different theories, you know, because I don't want my clients freaking out thinking that I don't know how to do my job, but they also don't know my process either. Okay, but not having any kind of information release, video release, or anything else, yeah, they can tell you to pull that crap down, you know, so this kind of covers that. So in requesting a documentary style of retrospective be done with my memorial, I authorize the release of information images to myself and give absolute right to disclose the following. Now, you can't disclose something you don't know, so that's the first point of common sense. I can't tell you something about any of my clients that they don't tell me. I'm not going to make stuff up because it's called slander. And I don't really want to get into that. So if they don't tell it to me, or I don't think it's an appropriate thing, I'm not posting it. Nope. Nope. Especially if it has absolutely nothing to do with the commission. Okay? Like in the case with Jasper, Cheyenne wanted to make sure that she wanted to tell Jasper's story. And one of the reasons that she wanted to make the video that we made is to share the story with other people, to get people to remember him and to remember the circumstances and the difficult situation she was in, and get other people maybe help that may be locked into that situation. And that's why the Jasper series is formatted the way it is. It's to help you as an artist to tell her story, and then to help others who may still be in that situation, or people who have friends who are in that kind of situation. Okay, that's why we set that video set up the way we did. But in just the matter of doing like a commission and publishing commission work, some people have a problem with that, and they don't want to have their pet or their work, which is actually your work, posted on the internet. It's like Big Brother's watching, you know, and some people are like that. So this basically says, if you want me to film your work, and that's part of my business profile, I'm going to. And it's going to get posted on the web, because that's my work, and this is what we're doing. So some people, I might cost me a couple of clients. Lately, it hasn't cost me any, but I haven't also been pursuing getting commissions. But to be fair, it's nice to have a video release. So in the case where I'm doing interviews, information relayed by myself or another representative on camera during interview, which may or may not be limited to information about the pet or subject, health information, images, video, or audio. Personal information, experiences, stories, history, personal history, and that would be regards to like the owner, the person being interviewed, or personal preferences. I put that in there too because typically when I'm doing commissions, I like to kind of tie in their own personal tastes with their pet. Case in point, Cheyenne's really into Game of Thrones, so I try to incorporate some aspects, some artistic aspects of Game of Thrones into there. Any miscellaneous information related in interview related to pet memorial. So this kind of gets into maybe like backstories, things that the cat used to do or the pet used to do, trips they used to take, stuff like that. That way, when you're on camera and you're telling their story, they're okay with you relaying it. Again, I wouldn't imagine that people would relay information to you that, knowing that you're doing an interview and that you're going to make a video out of it and you're going to post it on the internet. I can't imagine people like telling you something that they don't want public, but this way, if they do and you use it, and then it comes back and they're like, I don't believe I said that, it was so embarrassing, I just can't, oh no. You're covered, okay, if they change their mind down the road. Okay. This is the public content disclosure. Due to the public nature of social platforms that may be used to promote yourself, okay, and the art community, any video documenting personal statements, retrospectives, or opinions, whether fact or opinion, okay, are my own and not the responsibility of yours truly. Basically, if you went to Sheboygan Animal Hospital and you had a problem with how they treated your animal, and I go to Sheboygan Animal Hospital with a different pet of my own, I'm not necessarily sharing the same boat that you're in because my circumstances are different. And so I don't want people on my channel or people who are my viewers, so clients versus viewers, I don't want them to think that they're my opinions. Okay? Cheyenne's experience is Cheyenne's, it's not mine. I'm just telling her story. The next point is your timetable, and be realistic with this. Don't BS your clients because it can cost you your reputation. That's not something you can get back. If it's the end of November, go back to that first point before. If it's the end of November, say November 21st, and you are backlogged at least 6 weeks on work, and you take on a commission that needs to be done by December 20th, and you know you're not going to be able to shuffle that through, do not tell your clients you can, okay? Because they're going to expect work. They're going to expect it to be done. And this right here now becomes the legal binding that says, I took on a commission 3 weeks, I was expected to take it and get it done in 2, and it's 4 weeks in, and now my client wants their down payment back. And they don't want, people trash talking you is one thing, okay? But you incurring somebody trash talking you because you can't get the work done because you're too busy playing Fortnite and watching movies, that's on you, okay? With me, it's really very hard to take on a lot of commissions because I have a 9-to-5 job. I have this channel that I'm trying to keep going, and I also have my own work that I'm trying to get done. So those, I have that other responsibility. Okay. In my case, my timetable can be really long compared to the amount of workload that it is, but people aren't considering that A, I have a 9-to-5 job, B, I have this channel that actually eats up an awful lot of my free time, and C, C. Okay. Keep forgetting us. I need to eat. So when you're talking about me and my taking of commissions on, I haven't done one in a long time that's actually been on a timetable because right now I have so much going on that between work, my 9-to-5 job, the YouTube channel that I'm still trying to get on a regular routine, and my other responsibilities that I have to my family and my friends and my pets. It's really hard for me to be able to concisely say, yeah, that piece I can get done in 2 weeks. My workplace has been way too volatile, and I've had to spend way more hours than I normally expect there, and because of how volatile the workplace itself has gotten, I come home and I'm exhausted. So for me to give myself a reasonable timetable, I wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. And honestly, I don't think at this point taking a commission would be something I would recommend for myself or my client. It's not that I don't think I can do the work. I'm having a lot of stuff that's going on outside of my work. I'm having trouble even posting on this channel for a regular basis, so to give them a concrete basis and say, yeah, I can get this done in 2 weeks, not be comfortable. So at this point in time, me taking on a commission would not be a good idea, because I don't want my volatile outside situation to roll over into my artwork. Also, you want to put down the final statement being, I understand that all information is correct and current, and any misinformation is not the legal responsibility of the artist. Make sure you date it for the time that you sign the contract, have your client sign it, and your signature as well. Okay, so this has been going over contracts. I hope you guys found this really informative. I'm sorry it was a little long-winded, but I wanted to kind of cover the reasons that stuff is in my contract. And again, I built my contract from my own personal business model. Not everything that's in this contract is going to apply to you or what you need it for. And if you want to get some more information, I use the Art Marketing 101 book for it. And they update these editions on a regular basis. This one is quite a few years old, which is why it doesn't cover a whole lot, like email addresses and such like that. So the new updated editions will have all that stuff in there, including more stuff on social media. If you guys have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave them in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because I'm always trying to get new content out there in between very long shifts at my 9-to-5 job. Signing off from the studio. Have a great day.